And so we return. Let me just get that up a little bit. Right where we left off, which was chapter 11. Now let me find the display capture. That's the wrong display capture. Yeah, that looks good enough. Welcome back to Reading Chat, where I read you a bedtime story. That's right, you. Did you see yourself there? Alright. One sec. I'm good. So we last left off at chapter 11. Are you ready? Let us begoo. Curiosities of Lotus, Asia. Chapter 11. Gensokyo is separated from the human world by a barrier. However, amongst the yokai there are those who can cross this barrier. On the border between the inside and outside, Rinnosuke, who was in need for fuel for his heater, was dealing with such a yokai, but lured by a white box, his thoughts transcend the border. Now, alright. So here's the cover. So that's Yukari. I don't know who you fooling, but a lesser detail I think you would see on this cover in particular is you can see the background is kind of like a city. You know, it's like a city structure, but within the cloudy rift that is representing Yukari's gap, you can see Gensokyo. You can see specifically the shrine in there. I think that's a pretty, like, because the whole thing here in the shape of the gap from top to bottom corner. You see Rinnosuke, I assume Korindo's peeking in there, and you definitely see the Tori, which is the Hakurei shrine. But then behind it is the outside world. It's a really cool detail. Alright. Ultraviolet light. There was an ear-shattering clamor like nothing I've ever heard before. Even though it was almost winter, the air was unpleasantly warm. Even with my eyes closed, a flood of light pushed through. Horrified, I couldn't open my eyes. The rich, colorful outdoor scenery was being blown away, along with the falling red leaves, and the winter colors were gradually setting in. The tree leaves, now red, that symbolized life, little by little becoming warped. But as far as human comprehension goes, it only means they are turning red. For most of those leaves, they won't be able to endure their own transformation, and will fall to the ground. But there are some that will become completely warped. Those leaves will transcend red into a color that the human eye can't see. The inhabitants of Gensokyo call this color, after the leaves have fallen, the winter color. Humans then say that the scenery has lost its color, but it's possible that amongst the yokai there are some that can see these winter colors. The interior of the shop is also painted in the colors of winter, but it's not so bad compared to the outside, and that is thanks to human ingenuity. I have readied one such product of human ingenuity, namely a heater. However, knock knock. Damn, it's freezing outside. It's so cold you can't even hibernate. Hey, it's cold in here too. What happened to that heater you always have? Ah, Marisa, well, I ran out of fuel for the heater. Huh? Fuel? The heater I used was a discovery from the outside world, and its fuel is also of the outside world. That means that once I run out of fuel, it's rather difficult to obtain more. I've always used the fuel that was in it when I found it. The fuel from the other items I've gathered, or some other similar liquid. Don't matter how cold it is, what happened to properly greeting visitors? I always greet customers no matter how cold it is. If I'd have known your shop be like this, I would have brought the mini Hakuto. Anyway, what you gonna do about the fuel? Marisa is weak against cold. The intense winter cold reduces her sharpness to 1/3 its usual level. For some reason, almost no heaters appeared this year. That's why I couldn't get any fuel. Maybe the outside world winter isn't cold anymore. Lucky devils. I doubt there is any way that winters will be warm. So what then? You plan to just freeze to death like this? I think hibernation would be more appropriate, but I don't plan on doing either. However, it seems I have no other choice. I will find some way to obtain fuel before I truly become frozen. It's not like there are any other ways to get fuel, like going to the outside world or getting it from some yokai. Realistically, it would be the second choice, but that involves dealing with yokai. Want me to clue you in on something, Corden? There's someone besides you with a whole bunch of stuff from the outside world, and I just so happen to be an acquaintance of hers. Just the other day she was saying one can speak with someone from far away if they're using this item, while using it to talk to her own Shikigami. I was kind of suspicious about it being for real though, but I bet someone like her would have at least have some fuel. Is she a yokai? Of course she's a yokai. Knock knock. Ah, so cold. It's so cold. It seems it got all cold all of a sudden. Ah, Reimu, welcome. About now, people everywhere are making preparations for the winter season. Reimu, too, has certainly come to pick up some winter clothes. That's why I'm treating her as a customer today. Hey, it's cold in here, too. What happened to that overheating heater you always had? Looks like it went for the long summer vacation to me. Huh? You're here too, Marisa? Yeah, right in front of you. Marisa explained to Reimu for me about me running out of fuel and how I could obtain some. Looks like Marisa really is weak against cold. The yokai you're talking about. It's Yukari, right? Yep, she's closest to the outside world. I bet that she'd know where to find her. I bet that you know where to find her. No, I don't. I don't even know where she lives. She just comes to the shrine when I don't want her to. And of course, sometimes she doesn't come when I don't want her to. So you never want her to come. Anyway, Yukari won't be showing up for a while. Taking a wild guess? It's not like drawing great fortune from the Umikuji. Yukari never shows up in the winter. The verbal duel between Reimu and Marisa, which I could never know if it was for real or not, continued. Of course, I never actually said I was going to ask anything of this yokai. It's just that if I were to stay without fuel like this, it would really be trouble. Come to think of it, if you scatter some fried tofu, she will certainly come visit. Yukari's servant, that is. The next day, I tried putting some fried tofu on the storefront. I didn't have any particular expectation, I just did it as a sort of charm. The temperature has naturally dropped some more today. Seems it really is becoming winter. It's very inconvenient not being able to use my heater as I always have, but it cannot be helped. Maybe I'll have to think of another way to warm myself up. I got this heater a few years ago. At first I was considering putting it up for sale, but I changed my mind after trying to use it. I couldn't possibly sell a tool so convenient. I mean, hard to use. It could warm up every nook and cranny of the room, and it wouldn't even feel like it was winter. And I didn't have to bother with firewood or dirty chimneys, nor did I need a big installation like a fireplace. I even ended up not getting enough exercise because I didn't have to move around that much. I soon started to think that it would be a shame to sell this item, or rather like I couldn't sell it. However, it has been a long time since I really felt the winter. It's cold. Have Gensokyo winters really been this cold? Should I try digging up the magical heating furnace I made long ago? Well, I gave that to Marisa. A knocking sound came to the shop's entrance. Did it trap someone already? It hasn't been more than 1 or 2 hours since I put the fried tofu there. Must be someone that really likes fried tofu to get caught so quickly. But there was no one inside. Ah, do you have a moment? I have some business for your master. I opened the door, but no one was there, and my fried tofu was gone without a trace too. Someone had certainly been there, but I didn't think it would be someone as quick as to disappear like that. Could it have been the work of a fox? Seems I was wrong to think I could get what I wanted without making an effort myself. Just preparing some fried tofu and putting it out is about the same amount of effort as doing nothing. Well, this way is a little cold, but if I do it like this, there is no way my prey can escape the trap. So how long have you been standing in front of your shop holding fried tofu? It's not the kind of effort you'd make. Ah, Marisa, you were there. Yep, right in front of you. Oh, would you help me by luring in the yokai in my place? And why'd anyone have to do something so stupid? I'm not an expert in luring yokai, you see. I just don't know how to do it. Marisa said, fine, let's just go inside for now, and entered the shop. Since I have the fried tofu in hand anyway, I left it by the entrance and went in after Marisa. Not even a dumb fox yokai would fall for that kind of trap. Even so, a while ago it looked like I caught something. Whatever, if you can't use your heater, how come I hang out your place? I'll go and search for Yukari. Do you really think you can find her? Even though Reimu said what she did yesterday, I've seen Yukari at the shrine sometimes. She's gotta live around there, I'm sure. Marisa went out to search for Yukari in my place. Do I really want to meet this yokai? Even without the heater, I can find another way to warm up. After all, everyone else in Gensokyo is able to survive the weather without this useful device. And besides, even if I meet this yokai, there's no guarantee that she can supply me with the fuel. Didn't I just want to know more about the outside world? By using an item connected to the outside world and by being interested in a yokai connected to it, couldn't it be that I just want to get some more information? I do deal with a lot of mysterious merchandise, and being surrounded by all these items, I am always wondering about the outside world. For instance, there's this box, much smaller than a music box and made of a white, inorganic material. My ability tells me that this box is an item that can store and play a lot of music. However, until now it has never played any music for me. Just how do they use it in the outside world, and what kind of sounds does it play? I took the small white metallic box, put it to my ear, and closed my eyes. Maybe I could hear some sounds from the outside. I got the impression that there was a conversation coming from the outside. Maybe Marisa had already come back, or else a yokai had come by, lured by the fried tofu. No, I don't think that's it. There was an ear-shattering clamor like nothing I'd heard before. I couldn't believe such a painful sound could be made by any living creature. I felt an unpleasant warm air all over my skin. It was as if the ambient temperature had changed all of a sudden. In a winter like this, I don't think I would need heating. Even with my eyes closed, the flood of light pushed through. What could be shining so brightly to do that? It's a cold brightness, unlike sunlight or magic light. Then I had a flash of intuition. Right now, I must be in the outside world, riding on the outside items surrounding me. My thoughts had flown across the barrier. But I didn't open my eyes. What if, after seeing the outside world, I couldn't return to Gensokyo anymore? Humans that are spirited away almost never have a chance to come back again. On the other hand, if I open my eyes believing that this be only a visual and auditory illusion, my thoughts wouldn't cross the border and would be back to Gensokyo. But I could miss my chance to see the outside world. Which choice would I prefer? That's right, it wasn't my goal to obtain fuel. I did have a clear objective. I didn't want to get lost in the outside world, only to visit to complete my task. I had to leave my thoughts at Koidindo. No, at Gensokyo, and let only my body cross over there. Yes, that's a feat humans couldn't pull off, but I'm sure I could. For the sake of getting fuel and making my shop warm again, I slowly opened my eyes. Hakude Shrine, the shrine at the very edge of Gensokyo. Marisa went there to look for Yukari. When leaving Koidindo, she noticed the fried tofu still in front of the shop and decided to take it with her, so it could be put to a more effective use. Hey, are you here? I am, right in front of you. Not you, Reimu, I mean Yukari. What happened? And why are you holding that fried tofu? You were the one who said she'd show up for fried tofu. Well, her Shikigami is a fox. Exactly, and since Koden obviously has no idea how to catch a yokai, I had no choice but to come here and you can catch one before me. Oh, I see. Rather selfish of you, isn't it? Anyway, how about we have tea while we talk? Marisa and Reimu drank tea while they argued about how to catch Yukari. Yukari. Maybe she's already hibernating. When you say hibernate, that just means she never shows up anymore, right? And we don't have a clue where she lives. What if she actually gone on vacation to the Southern Islands? That may be. By the way, where are those Southern Islands? We don't have to go that far, but there really ain't any way to call her. I guess there's only one other way, but if I do that, she'll get angry. So there is a way. Well, there is, but if I do it, she'll show up only to tell me that it's dangerous and I should stop. But she'll show up, and that's all that matters, right? To these girls, worlds like dangerous are hardly a deterrent, but it means weakening Gensokyo's border. What if the ones who are close to the outside world get sucked into it? There was a flood of light. It was a very bright, cold light. It was so brilliant. It was so bright I could hardly see, and there were some voices speaking in what did seem to be Japanese. The hot, foul air was making my head hurt. So this is the outside world. I had seen it in things like books that drifted in, but I never imagined it would be so noisy and unpleasant. I had to calm down and look for some fuel, and then I should calmly look for a way to go back to Gensokyo. My eyes were becoming accustomed to the light. This archway here was something I recognized. Is this a shrine? And there are a great number of people here too. Oh, this will not do. You ended up all the way here. You shouldn't come because you are not human, you see. The cacophony suddenly stopped. The light also went away, and I had the white box in my hand again. The surroundings were gloomy, but somehow I could see. It was the usual interior of Koidindo. It looked like I had just fallen asleep for a little while, since it was so dim. I lit a small lamp and put the white box back on the shelf. If I just keep falling asleep like this, there was no way I could achieve my goal. Was curious if the fried tofu in the front of the store had lured any yokai, so I opened the front door. Unfortunately, all that had happened was the fried tofu had been taken. Then it was a fox's doing after all. I could see the shapes of Marisa and Reimu in the distance, and of yet another girl, who seemed to be lecturing them as they walked. Quite an unusual scene. Why, nice to meet you. Please call me Yukari Yakumo. Are you the person who wanted to meet me? The yokai in front of me, wearing gaudy clothes and carrying a gaudy parasol, had the sharp eyes characteristic of someone who isn't human, and she had an ominous smile. Ah, greetings. I was just wanting to meet you for a bit of a business proposal. I guided Yukari inside the shop and explained the circumstances that had led to me calling her, like the fuel for the heat. Like the fuel for the heater. Is it electric or kerosene, or maybe even nitroglycerin? Well, whatever the case, it's a simple request. I have an unending supply of any of those, and we should help each other in times of need, after all. She wore a wide smile. I knew it was definitely ominous. As expected from a yokai. As expected from me. Having said that, Yukari started to walk around the store, her long skirt fluttering silently. This shop of yours, it only has articles that are quite out of fashion. The latest trend, you see, is in portable objects. Portable things to speak with people far away, or portable devices that display the records of other people on a small screen. We don't particularly care about fashion here, I just deal with items that I like. Ah, this white box. This is a fashionable item. Ah, that. This was supposed to carry a lot of music, but I have yet to understand how to use it. I have the ability to know the name and to use of an unknown item just by looking at something. However, this ability doesn't tell me how to use it. If you put this to your ear, you will have odd visions like the ones you had earlier. That's because you are not a human. Again, the wide, ominous smile. Hey, turn that heater on already, it's freezing. Aren't you a little impatient, Marisa? I've barely begun to speak to the lady. Oh, I already turned it on. See, it's full of fuel, is it not? Indeed, it was now completely filled. I was here the whole time. How in the world did you do that? We should help each other in times of need. With that, Yukari stuffed the white box she was holding into her clothes, was quickly regretting having met this yokai girl. A more modern analogy would be it's not like picking winning lottery numbers. Fried tofu is said to be a kitsune's favorite food. Okay, so let me look at the pictures. I don't remember what exactly this white box is. So here's picture 1, where he's got the tofu in his hand, and Marisa's there. And then the second picture here. So that's what is that, chat? What is that object? I don't know what that is. I think I know what that is, but I'm not sure. That is an iPod? Really? Okay. So what happened this chapter? Rinnosuke accidentally traveled to the outside world for a little bit because I guess when he listened, because he was listening to music, or he put the object that plays music from the outside world up to his ear. Because he was part yokai, his spirit traveled to the outside world. And the reason for that is because at the same time that he did it, Reimu had purposefully weakened the barrier to attract Yukari's attention. So that's why he slipped out the way he did. So I'm assuming that's what happened, which means this chapter is kind of interesting because he does mention that it's quite difficult to get, like, you can't really go back to Gensokyo once you leave. Now, we know in Urban Legend in Limbo, when Sumireko opened a hole in the barrier, people were popping in and out of there a couple times. But in this case, yeah, Rinnosuke slipped out just because of happenstance. And I'm pretty sure Yukari is the one who was talking to him there that ended up sending him back before he kind of got stuck. Considering she had the gas, she had the thing filled up. Either way, there's a lot about that chapter that's kind of confusing, but I think that's generally what that chapter is talking about. I can't tell. I never had an iPod. I had an iPod Shuffle, which was really small. I never had a Walkman or a cassette player or anything like that. I should buy more apple juice. I think I will buy more apple juice. I'm gonna leave right now in the middle of the stream. I'll be back in like 30 minutes. Alright. Let's go to the next chapter. Chapter 12. Is there no cover for this one? Alright. There's an afterword for whatever reason. Chapter 12. The Deity's Tools. This thing. What were the people in the outside world thinking when they made it? I still remember feeling chills when I put it away on the shelf deep inside the store. Let's put it like this. I am Rinnosuke Morichika, merchant through and through, and this is my antique store, Korindo, where I keep all sorts of items, most of them curiosities, of the Lotus Asia variant. I gather these items from the outside world to sell them, and I always keep my door open to customers. But then there are those that are not customers, but still come here and treat me like I am a fake merchant. It's not like you're really interested in selling any of these things, right? They say. And I am indeed not interested in selling anything to non-customers. There are, in fact, a few items kept deep inside the store that I'm not interested in selling. Some items are not for sale because I am personally interested in them. It's true that some of these are bothersome things that would only take up space in the shop. However, I consider all of them to have value, but more so than my common wares. It just so happens that no one willing to pay a price corresponding to their worth has appeared. But among them, there is an item that's lately been bothering me terribly, and it's worse than usual, because I can't really ask anyone's advice regarding this item. It's a gray box, small enough to be held in the hands, made of plastic, I believe it was called, as I was saying. It's a box made of a material neither metal nor stone. Items made of this material have been extremely numerous lately. On top of that, it's one of several differently shaped buttons and switches on it. However, even if I push them, nothing happens. Insofar, there's nothing particularly ominous about it. However, this item's utility is very unsettling. Yes, my ability permits me to determine an item's utility. That's why I'm the only one that gets this uneasy feeling, and it's the feeling that prevents me from selling this item. Knock, knock. It's freezing out there, Corden, and it's even worse in the forest. Is that you, Marisa? If you're coming in, wipe the snow from yourself before you do. Yeah, I'm doing that now. I put the ominous little box deep inside a shelf to hide it, and went over to the entrance. It's too late to start now, aren't you already inside the store? I'm not even a customer, so it's not that bad, right? No, it's doubly bad. I'd like you to know what you are going to do if you get my merchandise wet. But you ain't gonna sell any of it, aren't ya? Are ya? This whole shop's full of nothing but stuff that isn't for sale. It doesn't look like you want to part with any of it. Even if it's not for sale, it'd be bad if it gets wet. Anyway, hurry up and go wipe yourself outside. Marisa reluctantly went outside. There was a lot of snow piled up on her hat. Was it really snowing that much? Since I haven't been outside at all, I didn't even notice that it was snowing. That's fine then. During the harsh winter, I can wait for it to end staying close to my heater, a result of human ingenuity. I'm back. It's cold outside, but the sun came out, so it's real pretty. It stopped snowing then. Huh? 'Twasn't even snowing to begin with. 'Twasn't. What about the snow piled on your hat? Ah, it landed on me when I went under some tree in the forest. I wonder if it was some fairy's idea of a prank, making the tree shake when someone walks under it so the snow falls on them. My head did feel a little heavier because of that, but whatever. I was curious as to why she didn't wipe it off at the time, but since she would surely say something like, I was exercising my neck, I didn't bother asking. Got anything interesting lately? I was about to say, oh, that's right, just a while ago, but I held my tongue. That item I got a while ago would be that creepy box. As to why I had a bad feeling about it was because of what it's used to do. What that item does is that it can apparently control just about anything. For example, manipulating people, making them fight, starting wars, and depending on the circumstances, even destroying the world. It's just as if it were a god's tool. But by looking at it, it doesn't seem like anything that powerful. Or at least that's what it was my eyes told me. While it only took me a short while to ascertain that, since I didn't know how to use it, I wasn't even able to get it to make an insect move. So I gave up and let it rest deep inside the store as one of my not-for-sale items. A while ago what? A while ago, I had this strange dream. I could feel an unpleasant air, and there was this ear-splitting noise and an incredibly dazzling light. I'd never seen anything like it before, but for some reason my memories are... Better to talk nothing more of that small box. What does that got to do with anything? Like I care about you, what you dream about. Knock, knock. Ah, Mr. Rinnosuke, this shop of yours, it's dangerous. What do you mean dangerous, Reimu? You won't find a shop more modest than this one. Turned out Marisa only came here yesterday because she was free and wanted to kill some time. But maybe she couldn't stand doing nothing for long because soon she went somewhere else. Just like a dog frolicking around in the snow. Today's visiting customer, wait, she's not actually a customer, is Reimu Hakude. Oh, it's Reimu. Maybe it's because only non-customers ever come here that the shop is so modest. It's not a modest shop, it's simply one where there's no intention of selling any of its items, isn't it? But anyway, don't you ever go outside, Mr. Rinnosuke, since you have always used heating. Using heating, the snow on the roof melts and forms a lot of icicles. You know that. It's one of those, were to fall on someone, it would hurt a lot. It'll be fine. Maybe a prankster fairy will use them to drive away weird people coming to the store. A fairy that drops icicles? I don't think that's a fairy from the forest. Well, whatever. Just take them down on your way out. You can do that much, right? Fine by me, but that's not why I came today. I was gonna give you a message. A message? In a short while, I'll be coming to take the usual. Just what is the usual? What do you mean by the usual? Just whose message is that? It's from Yukari, of course. When I imagined Yukari saying this, an unpleasant look appeared on my face. It's true that I am in her debt, but that yokai girl's smile is terribly ominous. Wasn't she still hibernating? That's exactly why she sent a message. That's right, that yokai girl would certainly know something about that small box. However, she's the last person I would want to hand it over to. To date, she has never returned any of the items she arbitrarily took from me, and for some reason she gives me the chills. I have no idea what the usual is. Anyway, I've delivered the message. Now I have to go out and do some shopping. Reimu said that and promptly left. When you come by my shop and you leave saying that you have to do some shopping, what am I supposed to think? Looks like she's suggesting that I have nothing worth buying here. No, it's more like she's saying it out loud. I once again took out that small gray box. I imagine this is likely the thing Yukari mentioned. I picked it up by coincidence, so maybe it really is Yukari's. The outside items that fall into Gensokyo include items that came through from the barrier by accident. Items that become illusionary because no one used them anymore. Items whose users had suddenly disappeared, and so on. So, if this box really is a god's tool, then it means that the gods have, very likely, disappeared from the outside world. If this item really can't control anything, then Gensokyo can easily be put in a dangerous situation. Especially if I hand it over to that yokai girl. Can't even imagine what might happen. No normal person would seriously believe that such a mysterious item like this exists. But in my case, I can't not believe it, given what I know. Of all the items from the outside world I have gathered until now, there are some that no one in Gensokyo would believe is possible to create. So it may very well be an item capable of destroying the world. I don't want to lose into Gensokyo such a powerful tool from the outside capable of wreaking such havoc if I can avoid it. For now, the small gray box shows no sign of working, but who knows when it may release its godlike power. If this ability is set into motion, people might start being controlled, be made to fight, might start wars, and the world might very well be destroyed. I love Gensokyo as it is. That's why I can't possibly give this box away to anyone. I should break an item as dangerous as this. I should break it with me mallet. With slight reluctance towards destroying this little gray box, I hit it with all my might. That's not gonna work. The next day I was preparing to go out for the first time in quite a while. I had business that required me to do so. I had in fact swung a big mallet on that small box yesterday. But it, how can I say it, had a strange outcome. It felt like striking a soft pillow. Surprised, I looked at the end of the mallet. That was a scene I would rather not recall. There, between the mallet and the small box I was supposed to break, was a white hand that had snuck in between them. Yes, a creature made of only one hand had stopped the mallet. I had struck down as hard as I could, but the slender female hand was calmly interposing. The hand brushed the mallet aside, raised the index finger, and in front of my eyes waved it left and right. And then, just as if ridiculing me standing there dumbfounded, the hand grabbed the small box and disappeared into the floor along with it. At that time, I had no idea of what had just happened, and just stood in blank amazement for a while. But once I could think calmly about it, I realized that there wasn't anything mysterious about it. Of everyone that I knew, there was only one who could do this. That's right, it was that girl who took it, the last one I wanted to give it to. I still don't know where she lives, but for now I'm just getting some fried tofu ready. Preparing fried tofu. Gonna stand in front of the shop holding it again. Marisa, when did you come inside? Marisa had suddenly appeared behind me. You seem to be in a hurry, running all over the place, so I just entered and kept quiet. No particular reason. That's right, if I can get Marisa to go searching for me instead of going after her myself, it'd be many times more effective. Marisa, I have a favor to ask. Go look for Yukari, right? Yeah, sure, why not? How did you know I wanted to look for Yukari? The fried tofu. Marisa gladly accepted and went out again almost as soon as she had arrived. In this case, since it's so cold, I'd rather not go out myself. I tried to calm down and think. Just what was that small box? My ability showed me its frightening use, but you wouldn't think an item that small could have that power. But if Yukari took it when he was about to break it, then it couldn't have been just another trinket. It had black, cheap-looking buttons and some small openings on its back and sides. But its most characteristic feature was the small window just above some buttons that would neither open nor shut. If you stared for too long at that window, you would almost feel like you could get sucked into it. It was made of a strange, artificial material. However, from its weight, it didn't seem like there was a lot packed inside it. Rather than danger, what I felt from it was more like an eerie and somewhat lonely feeling. If I had a better sense of intuition like Reimu, maybe I could have sensed something more. Maybe even something like the feelings of the one who used this. Why is it that, now that I don't have it anymore, I remember its details much more clearly? Did my eyes get clouded by all the illusionary visions that my ability showed them? From now on, I should start looking at things without relying only on my ability. Knock, knock. I noticed the sound of the front door opening. I must have fallen asleep while I was thinking. What are you doing? You sent me to looking for someone and you go and take a trip to Dreamland? Ah, Marisa. Was I sleeping? She was at the shrine, that Yukari, drinking tea and relaxing. Guess she forgot about hibernation. So what did she do? Asked me to deliver a message. Another message? And what is it? Ah, she said, yes, I have received this month's fee. What, so this was for payment? And a monthly one at that? Does she intend to come collecting things every month now? Looks like I walked into a deal with a very troublesome yokai. And then she said, didn't I inform you before that portable things are popular in the outside world now? That's why this kind of item is appearing a lot. This one is a handheld game machine. You can use it to fight and destroy imaginary enemies wherever and whenever you are. But unfortunately, this gray one is a rather old variety. It's only monochromatic, and since it's so old, almost nobody in the outside world has one anymore. You know, the popular one right now, it is one that has 2 screens. What is she talking about? I see now. That's a relief to hear. What kind of handheld game machine is it that's popular in the outside world now? When that small box with the 2 screens that Yukari mentioned goes out of fashion, maybe it'll start appearing in Gensokyo as well. And the icicles on the roof actually fell. I guess a strange person came by, so the prankster fairy drove them away. Alright. So yeah, this chapter is Rinnosuke finds a Game Boy. Rinnosuke finds a Game Boy, and his ability basically tells him all the different types of games that it can play. But he thinks that that's something that it can do. So I think what happened with the last chapter is Yukari basically set up a trade with Rinnosuke, where she'll come and she takes things that she wants, and in exchange she supplies fuel for his heater. Now, what I'm thinking is that Yukari's always very vague in general, but I think Yukari's goal here is to only kind of pickpocket items that can cause trouble. Because remember, the first item that she took from Rinnosuke was the iPod, which somehow actually managed to take Rinnosuke out of Gensokyo for a little bit. Now, I don't really know if there's any relation to portable items to that specifically, but it is possible that she's just using this as a not straightforward way to commandeer items that could cause issues with the barrier. But who knows? I don't know what a Game Boy could cause trouble with, because it's a fucking Game Boy. But Yukari has never been... The thing is, Yukari's never been one to really state her like goals outright. However, Yukari only tends to get involved when it's something related to Gensokyo as a whole. And it's actually an incident regarding that. So she was present in IN because of what happened with the moon. She is present in SA, technically present in SA because of the non-aggression treaty between the underworld and Gensokyo. So that's obviously relevant to Gensokyo. That's why she is using the communication device with Reimu. She does appear now, and she does appear in Scarlet Weather Rhapsody in Immaterial Missing Power. Immaterial Missing Power is definitely not a threat to Gensokyo. Tenshi, however, is definitely a threat. That's why Yukari doesn't like her very much. It's because of the keystone business she tried at the shrine. And Yukari returns 15.5 at the Perfect Possession incident. Now, strangely, Yukari doesn't get involved in the Touhou 14.5 with, Sumireko threatening to fucking blow up the border. So that's the only real outlier to that. But usually, yeah, Yukari only gets involved when the matter at hand directly involves the safety of Gensokyo to some capacity. So her doing this could be related to that, and I think really the only argument I have for that is because the first item she took we saw in the chapter was able to cause Rinnosuke to leave Gensokyo by accident. It takes Marisa to fight Nina in 20 with the 7 rock. Oh, I don't know the 20 endings like at all. But I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something. I was like, well, I don't know enough to actually talk. So I don't know what to say here. Afterword from the original doujinshi version. Good morning, though I don't think most people will be reading this in the morning. Zun here. The truth is that I was invited to participate the last time, but since the deadline for Imperishable Night was closing in, I couldn't, so it's a good thing that I got another chance. Chance for what, you say? You see, Curiosities of Lotus Asia is going to be published in another place now. This way, when it becomes a compilation, it won't become just another mishmash, lul, or that the stereotype of publishing practices kind of. It mostly lies, so don't believe it. Speaking of stereotypes, the Game Boy had stereo sound, didn't it? Even though it was only on one speaker. I think that was lovely. Just the wavy back, just like the wavy back of a skirt. Lovely. I don't think there's hardly anyone who still uses the original Game Boy, right? It would probably be a crime in this day and age. When the DS comes out, will everyone stop using their advances too? Oh, right, back to the story. The story is part of the current serialization called Touhou Cordindo, Curiosities of Lotus Asia. If you haven't read it, you may not have understood the story, so I will quickly introduce the characters and settings. Rinnosuke Morichika, guy with glasses that picks up and sells stuff that falls around the area. Cordindo, a shop-like building where he stores the stuff that falls around him. Reimu Hakude, a shrine maiden that doesn't think much about anything. Marisa Kirisame, a carefree girl that makes fun of Cordindo. By the way, this chapter is a continuation of Chapter 11, Ultraviolet Light. Go check it out. Team Shanghai Alice Sun. By the way, by no means am I trying to get in a fight with Nintendo. So yeah, when he said, when Yukari mentioned dual screen, she was talking about the Game Boy SP, I believe. I don't know when this came out, but the fact that he says when the DS comes out. So the DS was known about, but it hadn't released yet at this time. So either Yukari was talking about the SP, or he was writing from the perspective of the time where the DS had already come out. Either is possible, because the Game Boy Advance SP was dual screen. It also is the first handheld with a backlight, which is pretty cool. I didn't have one. I had a Game Boy Advance, and I had a little thing that you plugged in the top of it that was like a little light. Innovation. But yeah, SPs had backlights, DS had backlights, and backlights were, yeah. SP was one screen. Yeah, it was one screen, but it was like a flip phone. I guess no. Yukari did say it was two screens. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yukari did say it was two screens. I don't know why. Oh, you know what? You know what it probably was? I think my brain was materializing the 2DS when I was talking about the Game Boy SP. Do you know what a 2DS looks like? That is a goofy ass system. That shit is just like, that shit flat. That shit flat. It does its job. I've seen one, yeah, I've held one. They do what they need to do, but they're weird. To inspect from the description of forums from Zun's Afterword, Koden's device might be a Game Boy, especially the first edition since it's very fat. While the one Yukari mentioned should be a Nintendo DS. DS was released in 2004 and this chapter was originally printed in the end of the same year. Oh, okay, well there you go. The notes kind of got door wedge. Yeah, that's what we called it actually. We called the 2DS the doorstop. Because it looked like something you'd slide under a door to stop it from fucking closing. Chapter 13. Youmu, Youmu, Youmu. So here's Yellow Eyes Youmu, which is, I'm pretty sure Yomu's only ever had yellow eyes in Curiosities here. I touched on this in my video. The scan. I forgot about the scans. Right, I completely forgot about those. Shit. Hold on. Hold on. Let me scroll up. I didn't mean to do that. I completely forgot, chat. I have, let me just move this. Move this. Does this work? Hold on. Where the fuck did those go? There they are. We have the pictures for that one. Chapter 12? I can't really tell. Yeah, I can't tell. I don't have the covers in here, do I? No, I don't. Where are they? Hold on. Okay. Okay, I see them. Alright, so here's the cover. So, I have these, because these were, so Key Smash there, he actually has the book. Like, he has the actual book. And he scanned the whole damn thing. Because he was using it for a video that he made. So, he gave, he uploaded them on the archive, and I have them. So, like, look at this. So, it's from the book. But he also scanned, like, every page of the book. Like, no exaggeration. Look at this. It's a very nice looking book, too. See? It's a very nice looking book. But it's all in Japanese. But all the pictures are blue and green for some reason. I don't really know why. The only thing that's kind of annoying is that they're not ordered right, so what am I grabbing here? So this is from the chapter that's coming up. There's this one here. But they're partially ordered right, but then some of them are just kind of out of whack. So like these are the two images that are going to be relevant to this coming page. Oops. Oh no, what am I doing? I'm grabbing things that are invisible. There you go. So there's Youmu. Youmu in all of her green glory. There you go. But yeah, they're basically high quality scans of the different images that aren't tied to the pages. So I have these. They're not that easy to show because I have 1,000 things on this fucking scene. That's annoying. There we go. I don't have a description. I just have the folder. There's no description in here. There's no notepad. The pages are ordered, but then the images aren't. I mean, I can just dig them out. Alright, let's get back to reading. I want to read some more story. Alright. Oh, hold on. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Hold on. I goofed. I don't remember what screen I was using. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, thank God. Okay. Alright. That scared me. I just scared myself. Gave myself a jump scare. Gave myself a heart attack. Okay. How much is left? I'm just thinking about it, because we're at 45 minutes and I've read like 3 chapters. I think the chapters get longer. I'll have to take a look at that, but right now I think I'll be able to find them. I just have to look at the ones. So we saw the ones for Youmu. Alright, but I don't want to show the images until we actually read the story, right? Because Yomu's buried in snow here. What happened to Youmu? What happened to my Youmu? Alright, let's get it. Let's get it. I'd like to get higher quality versions of the Symposium and the Perfect Memento ones for sure. Because I do want to do Perfect Memento after this, because Perfect Memento and Symposium are great. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Key Smash there, he made he scanned the whole damn book. He made a video on it, so I'll put a link to that, because you said I had to. I'm joking. It's fine. So he has a link to all that. So if you want the images from the book yourself, then he has them all uploaded in an archive format, which is very nice because like I said. Actually, before I move on, which ones are the images from the last chapter? Because we didn't see those. The images from the Game Boy chapter didn't actually exist. What ones are those? I see the cover. I see the tofu image. I see chapter 10. Where's chapter 12? There's nothing for chapter 12. Oh, that's why. Okay, never mind. Alright, I was wondering because there's just nothing there. Alright, let's continue. Gensokyo's cold winter continued, and Koidondo was even colder because of the countless phantoms that had gathered inside the shop. Phantoms are very cold, and a group of them can lower the temperature beyond the freezing point. Rinnosuke, completely at a loss, is suddenly visited by a careless-looking customer. This is a small life lesson about the cycle of lost and found items. Phantasmal light, snow on the window. It's cold. A chill not of this world has settled within the walls of my store. I have a heater placed at the center. It's an essential item for getting through Gensokyo's harsh winter. It was dangerously close to becoming no more than a mere decoration this year, but I got it working again somehow. But it's still cold. And when I say cold, I mean the entire shop is freezing. This heater is from the outside world, and it usually gives off an unbelievable heat, bathing the room in a glow of the outside world's flame. There's no way it should be this cold normally. But it's cold. And that is naturally because the shop has been full of phantoms since this morning. The temperature of phantoms is extremely low, you see. My store was engulfed in an otherworldly and ghostly light. This light would reflect off of the snow through the window and give a phantasmal mood to the whole place, as if contrasting to the very real light from the heater. Unfortunately, I don't have any ability that would allow me to hear the voices of phantoms. As much as I want, I can't find out what these countless phantoms' purpose is. It's just not my specialty. But if it stays this cold, I don't think I'll be able to get through the winter. So even though it might be somewhat of an extreme measure, maybe I should ask a specialist to perform a phantom extermination. As for why I think it's an extreme measure, I don't sense any ill will from these phantoms. Since going all the way to the shrine is a nuisance, I tried to communicate with a bored-looking phantom in the shop by telling it to go to the shrine and call the shrine maiden. Well, I guess it was a silly idea, considering that I wanted it to call Reimu here so she could exterminate them. However, said bored phantom happily replied, and by that I mean it moved its head part up and down, and flew off. It seems they can hear my voice at least. Honestly, these phantoms are very nice and cheerful types. If they weren't so cold, they would be even better. Phantoms chill can actually be helpful, mainly in summer. During hot summer nights, humans would gladly look for phantoms in order to cool themselves. in what are called tests of courage. That's the reason why they are more commonly done in summer. Okay. All living things have their own living temperatures. Humans and yokai are the same in this aspect. On the other hand, objects always assume the temperature of their surroundings, but phantoms are cold, unlike both living things and objects. Maybe this is how phantoms assert themselves. Ding-a-ling! What happened that would make you call for me for help like that, Mr. Rinnosuke? Reimu had arrived. It seems that phantom accomplished its task. What do you mean? I thought you would be able to tell just by looking at the situation. I wanted you to exterminate, or rather drive away, all these phantoms. Phantoms? Well, there have been a lot of them lately. The shrine's full of phantoms too. They're such a bother. Was she trying to imply something like, I can't exterminate phantoms myself? It gets cold here with all of them around. Well, that's because they're phantoms, after all. But before driving them away, maybe you should figure out why they gathered here in the first place. But it's cold. I'd rather investigate after the room gets a little warmer. Is that how it is? I doubt you'll find a way to get rid of them if you don't get to the root of the problem. As Reimu spoke, she prepared some amulets. Phantom warding talismans, perhaps. I'll put some amulets just to give you a peace of mind. Thank you, but taking such an indirect approach isn't like you. Do you dislike dealing with phantoms? What I do is yokai extermination, and phantoms are not yokai. Reimu just stuck some amulets around the shop and went back. And in fact, it did seem like the phantoms couldn't just get close to them. However, the range of the amulets was far too small. The shop's interior was just as full of phantoms as before. They were almost useless spread out like that. So I rearranged some of the amulets closer to me, my bed, and more valuable merchandise. Looking closely, some of the phantoms were crowded around the heater, looking as if they were cold. Whose fault do you think this is? I wanted to say, but it seemed that even phantoms who are cold don't necessarily like being cold. And that's a matter of course. Most phantoms were originally human, and so a phantom's tastes and character shouldn't really change much from when it was alive. Upon closer observation, I could see some curiosity looking around the store. Some curiously looking around the store. Some that would move away from the heater, some that were chatting with their fellows, or so they seemed, and a few other types. Ghosts and phantoms are different things. They're different things from each other, and they're different from yokai, yeah. They certainly have different ways of thinking, but then again, why were all these different phantoms gathered at my place all of a sudden? Did they all decide to do so as a group? If I could only hear their voices, it would be a lot easier. When you think of hearing the voices of the deceased, an Itako medium is what profession comes to mind. The thing is, most people misunderstand a medium's ability. They don't actually listen to the deceased voices. They let their unconscious be possessed by the person they were asked to summon, and then transmit it in the form of words. That's why mediums can't hear the voices of anyone that is not closely related to the client, and if said client is not in front of the medium, they won't even become possessed. If a medium were to successfully contact a deceased soul that is neither family nor lover to the client, then it's most certainly a trick. On the other hand, if it is a family or lover, then she can perform it even if the person is not dead. You may think that Shrine Maidens have the same ability as Itako mediums, but they differ a little. A Shrine Maiden can give a mouth to a god's words, and so there is a god to everything. You could even hear an object's voice through that. But then again, since this communication only goes one way, it would be a, so to speak, god's monologue. It's quiet outside. Snowing, probably. It might just be that those phantoms were in the middle of a journey and stopped here because it was snowing outside. Reimu only stuck her amulets around the shop without doing any active extermination. Phantoms must surely be different from yokai. There's no real reason to exterminate phantoms, unlike yokai. As for me, I just went to sleep, leaving the heater on. Even the phantoms would be cold. Well, at least I would be. Bam, bam, bam. Daybreak. The sun had barely risen, but someone is banging on my door. The snowing has stopped. The light from the snow and the freezing air enveloped all against Gensokyo in white. Bam, bam, bam. Excuse me, I would like to check your shop for something. Bam, 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 flomp. Ah, the knocks on the door were making the whole shop vibrate. It was snowing all last night, and since I left the heater on, the snow on the roof must have loosened. There's still some time until I open the shop. Just what is your business here? However, when I opened the door, there wasn't anyone there. No, there is actually a pile of snow just in front of the door, and protruding from the pile are 2 swords and a leg. Customers won't be able to enter like this. I'll need to shovel away all this snow later. Or not. It seems the snow pile in front of me is actually a visitor. Just where did I put my snow shovel? No, wait. There seemed to be something soft within the pile, so it might be dangerous to push a shovel into it. Oh. I could hear a voice coming from the lump of snow. You can get out by yourself, I guess. But just what is it that you want? It's still too early in the morning. I haven't opened the store yet. I can't move. Can't you at least help me remove a little of this snow? If you can at least hear my voice, then you can state your business. For starters, I can help you after that, alright? Oh. I removed some of the snow from around where I heard the voice, and there appeared the head of a silly-looking girl, the first one to ever bear the brunt of the rooftop snow's counterattack. Brr, it's cold. I can't move my arms and legs. Please move away the rest of the snow. You moved around too much, which caused the snow to melt and freeze again. That's why you're stuck. That doesn't matter. So what is your business here? Boo-hoo. There's something I want to investigate in your shop, and it's urgent. That's why I came all this way. Something you want to investigate. Could it have something to do with the phantoms? Yes, it does. Why didn't you say so before? Let's get you out of there. So if it were another matter, you would have left me like this? Honestly. From now on, visit at the store during normal operating hours. A little while after I began removing the snow, she was able to move again, and she freed herself from the pile. Maybe it was because of the ordeal she just went through, but when I opened the door, she entered after me with an embarrassed look on her face. The girl who goes by the strange name of Youmu Konpaku started to shiver from the cold as soon as she entered the shop. She was wearing green from head to toe, with a broad and short skirt that seemed very chilly. Her bobbed haircut looked excessively childish, matching the way in which she showed up. But her most characteristic trait was the long sword that she carried on her back, about as long as she was tall, and the small sword by her hip. To walk into my store carrying such dangerous things, it wouldn't be strange to assume she was a thief. Maybe that's why the shop itself turned against her by dropping snow on her head. If you are feeling cold, you should go over to the heater. It's been on since yesterday, so it must be rather warm. Thank you very much. I will at once. After she entered the shop, her behavior became very polite. She's probably that kind of girl. It might be too hot, so take care not to get burned. When I glanced at the direction of the heater, she was there with a relaxed expression on her face, looking almost slovenly. I guess she's the same as Reimu and the others, then. As the water in the teapot on top of the heater was almost boiling, I put in some snow and ice I brought from the outside. Can we get started? First, what is your business? You said you came to investigate something about these phantoms. Correct. Do you know why these phantoms are gathering here? If I knew, I'd be doing something a lot more interesting. In that case, you didn't gather them here deliberately, I see. I wondered what I would even do with a bunch of phantoms. That aside, for the past little while, I've had my eye on a conspicuously large phantom that had wandered in at some point, and is now monopolizing the heater as if it was enshrined there. Did anything strange happen before the phantoms started to gather? Before I answer that, just who are you? Do you exterminate phantoms with that sword? Or maybe you're just curious about them? Oh, forgive me for not mentioning it before. I happen to know something about the cause of these phantoms gathering here. As you can see, I'm also a phantom, if only half of one. What, so she isn't human? Well, it doesn't look like I'll be able to ask her to do either yokai or phantom exterminate. Wait, a phantom? Phantom, you say? But since when do phantoms have a physical body like yours? You can't possibly be a ghost either. Yes, of course, this part of me here is the human one. My phantom part is the one there. The girl pointed to the big phantom monopolizing the heater. It seemed like she's able to control phantoms. In that case, she may be used to dealing with them. There are such strange occupations in Gensokyo. So allow me to ask you again, did anything strange happen lately, like picking up an object, for example? They just suddenly started to gather one day. I was beginning to figure out this girl's intention from the way she placed her questions. Yes, I know that already. You just said you had some knowledge about this. However, you were trying to get information out of me. In other words, you want me to say something that you don't want to admit yourself. It's nothing like that. In that case, can't you tell me what you already know? Yes, very well. I'll just ask you directly. Did you happen to pick up the soul torch? Soul torch. Did I pick up something like that? I pick up a lot of stuff, so I don't remember the more commonplace objects. What exactly is this soul torch? The soul torch is an item used for guiding a countless number of souls. It is something that originally only existed in the netherworld. The light from it can be seen by phantoms no matter how far away they are or how many obstacles are in the way. And when they see it, they flock to it. Ah, I see. So that's it. Now that I think about it, I picked up something that looked like that in Muenzuka just before winter started. Just where did I put it? So it's here? For some reason, the girl seemed really happy. Yes, I'm quite sure I picked it up. That it was some time ago, though, but I don't remember bringing in a torch or lantern. Wait a moment. Thank goodness. I looked into the pile of lanterns that I picked up over the last autumn and found something like it. It looked like a paper lantern the size of one's palm, and it was indeed glowing somehow. This is the soul torch, right? I had the ability to know the name and utility of an item after all. That's it! That's it! Ah, what a relief. It seemed like it started glowing by itself. Is this cold flame the light of a disembodied soul? Yes, but you don't need to concern yourself about that. As long as you possess the soul torch, the phantoms will continue to gather here. I see. So that's what it amounts to. I think I'm just now realizing the reason why you came to my shop. You see, I told you that the phantoms were gathering, but I didn't say that they were being a bother. It was you who carelessly dropped it, wasn't it? Maybe you could manipulate phantoms, but once you lost it, you couldn't control them anymore. No, I'm not able to manipulate phantoms. All this time, you really just wanted to get it back, right? If you don't tell me the real reason why, I don't think I'll be able to give it to you. Oh, boo-hoo. So, she finally began to divulge her reason for coming. The girl apparently lived and worked at a large mansion in the netherworld, and there she was entrusted by the mistress of the place with the custody of this important item, the soul torch. However, it seems that she carelessly dropped it while traveling. That does seem likely for this girl. When she realized she had lost it, she couldn't remember where she would have dropped it, and without bringing the matter to her mistress, she was at a loss of what to do. She would search for it during breaks in her job for a while, but since she couldn't make any progress, she gradually forgot about it altogether. Likely of her, I suppose. In the end, Lady Ieko found out about it, and she was awfully mad at me. Well, that's obvious. But was the reason she got angry because she lost it, or because she didn't tell her about it? I wonder if she knows herself. Lady Ieko said that she could make the soul torch shine no matter where it was, and that I should go look for where the phantoms are gathering. If she can make it shine wherever, then I'm sure she would be able to know where it is too. It seems awfully convenient that she could only make it shine. She actually wanted this girl to go look for it, so what she was angry about was definitely not having been told about it. What all this means is it's because I picked up this item that I'm now surrounded by phantoms and frozen to the bone. And on top of that, I'm being used to teach a lesson to this girl. I can see that you are extremely relieved that you found what you were looking for. But the soul torch is already merchandise, you see. I can't give it away for free. I haven't opened the shop yet, but maybe I can make a special sale for you. What? No way! Just give it back, please. Hold on, I got a good sense of this lantern's value as soon as I saw it. Being an item from the netherworld is not something that's easy to come by, right? So the price should fit its value. Knock, knock. Yo! Wow, did it snow a lot yesterday or what? The door opened and the cold, sensitive Marisa entered. Ah, Marisa, it's dangerous, so open the door more quietly. The snow on the roof might fall, you know. What? But there's no snow on the roof, which is kind of weird, actually. And why? Because I really don't think you took it off yourself. You never were one for manual labor, right? A good amount of time had already elapsed since the girl came to visit this morning. If it were still snowing, there would have been time enough for me to... holy word salad. There would be time enough for a lot more to pile up. On the other hand, there would still be quite a bit of snow shoveling to be done. Ah, there was this kind of person here. And she removed the snow from the roof and from around the store for me. Hey, is that Youmu? How weird for her to come here. And the rest of the store is warm enough, so you don't You really have to be so close to the heater? The girl spent the whole morning removing the snow from the roof for me, so obviously she was freezing. Oh, my whole body's frozen stiff. Are you really friends with this cruel shopkeeper, Marisa? Yep, you bet. He sure is cruel, ain't he? That is something I cannot ignore. How was I cruel? You came to my store to buy something, and then you said you were empty-handed, right? You can't live like that in Gensokyo. Gensokyo is such a strict place compared to the netherworld. Ah, no way. There ain't anywhere more relaxed than right here. I bet you got tricked by Cord into shoveling away the snow, right? Somehow I got the impression that Reimu and Marisa must always be making fun of this girl. Probably because of her immaturity and earnestness. But shoveling snow is a small price to pay for a life lesson, if you ask me. This chapter's title is a reference to Glow of Firefly, Snow on the Window, Hotaro no Hikari Mado no Yuki, which is the Japanese version of Odd Long Syne. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I've heard that before. Alright, there you go. Youmu, Youmu, Youmu. So we saw the images earlier. We pulled them back up. So here's Youmu. So the snow fell on her. So there's her swords poking out and her leg. Nice shoe. she got dumpstered by that one. And then here's her. Here's her by the heater at the end. So I don't know what Marisa's doing. I think she's eating mochi. Her her little phantom's got hands. And she's got snow on her head. Look at the little phantom hands. That's her ghost half, her phantom half. She looks like she's struggling. Alright, Youmu, you've learned a very valuable lesson today. Don't drop your shit. There you go, chapter 13. Now we move to chapter 14. I want to pay more attention to the backgrounds in them. Look, it's Sunny Milk. Oh, where's Luna? I see Yukari. I see Star. I see Sunny. There's no Luna. Reimu, Marisa, Youmu. No Luna. I like all the Japanese and then just Phantasmagoria of Flower View. That's great. Alright. Behind the letters, that's Yukari. Unless she's up higher. Oh no, there she is. She's right here. She's behind the tilde. Do you see her? She's behind the tilde. It's kind of hard to see her though. Alright. The scenery as seen from Korindo was painted white from the sakura that heralded the arrival of spring in Gensokyo. And during these times, visitors inviting Rinnosuke for a flower viewing party came calling every day. Lost in delight amidst the charm and glamour of the splendidly blossoming cherry trees, the popular Touhou project serialization also serving to announce the expected release of the new game Phantasmagoria Flower View at Summer Comic-Con, the landmark event and the welcoming to the new season. The Gensokyo residents can't take their eyes away from them this year either. Hold on. Which one is that? 2111. Here it is. So here's the, oh my god. So here's the cover. Can you grab the right image? Thank you. Grab it. Yeah, Luna's up in the tree there. But she's like, she basically is the tree. Like, she's basically the fucking tree. She is in the bushes. Okay. Alrighty. Colorless Sakura. As spring comes closer, the snow-covered Gensokyo gradually regained its colors. Winter's whiteness was fading from the lowest reaches of the mountains. But those low reaches were once again being colored white as if replacing the snow. Spring's whiteness, the cherry blossoms. I have a good view of the cherry blossoms from Cordindo's window. So, if you think I would purposefully go outside for a flower viewing party, then you are mistaken. Isn't it satisfactory to see the flowers from inside my own store? I don't like noisy gatherings, and going to a flower viewing party with people I see all the time is not that pleasant. I will quietly watch the cherry blossoms alone, from inside my store. I don't think there is a more elegant or rather refined way of watching flowers. The humans who go out for flower viewing parties are those poor people that live in the forest or something without a great view of the scenery. They seem more like the naive kind of humans, enticed by the magic of the cherry blossoms. This guy's kind of being an asshole. Knock knock. Come on, Corda, it's flower viewing season. There's a party every day at the shrine. Oh, Marisa, there are flower petals all over your hat. Wipe them off before coming in. But I left them there on purpose, said Marisa as she went outside and shook her hat. Marisa's house in the Forest of Magic doesn't have any tasteful vegetation like cherry trees. And in fact, the forest repelled honest people, so it was extremely obvious that Marisa was elated to see cherry blossoms. So, aren't you going? To the flower viewing party, I mean. A flower viewing party, huh? I have other things to do today, so I shall pass. A flower viewing party with Marisa would be a fairly noisy one, and I don't like noise. But you don't look that busy to me. What do you gotta do? Will it take long? Yes, I have another flower viewing party to attend, a quiet one. Alright, go to your wake of a flower viewing party, said Marisa, as she left. I resumed my quiet event. Watching the cherry blossoms alone from the inside of my store was the biggest luxury I could ask for, and so I continued as night fell. The next day, the cherry blossoms were even more splendid. Since the previous day, I had a flower viewing party consisting only of absent-mindedly looking at flowers. Today, I thought it would be a more refined one, and I can think of nothing more refined than reading a book. My storage of books doesn't only have ones from Gensokyo, but also many from the outside. Still, I had quite a number of them about cherry blossoms. Regardless of source, however, there wasn't a single book about the skunk cabbage, even though it's a related species of plant. Just from that, you could see that cherry blossoms were a special flower to the Japanese. Since a long time ago, both humans and yokai had been driven insane by the color of the cherry blossoms. Some people would become exuberant under them. Others would think of death in a sentimental fashion. Even in the distant past, the effects of the cherry blossoms could be seen. Knock, knock, knock. Is anyone there? Welcome. It was the half-human girl from a while ago. Youmu, I believe. Ah, thank you very much for before. Thanks to you, Lady Yuko was only a little angry with me. That's good to hear. I don't know to what extent, but from what I heard from Marisa later, this girl was made to gather all of the stray ghosts in Gensokyo, and was still looking for unfound bodies. If so, then she was in the middle of the punishment when she first entered my store. But even if you say that, all I did was sell you an item. Are you looking for something to buy today as well? No, I was passing in front of your shop, and I thought both of giving you my thanks and inviting you to a flower viewing party. I think that if she hadn't said that, she was just passing by, the thanks would have a higher value. But anyway, it seems it's another party invitation. Cherry blossoms at my lady's garden are several times more impressive than the ones here, but even so, today's flower viewing party is actually at the shrine. Unfortunately, I have other things to do today. Oh, is that so? Well, the cherry trees will not run away, but the blossoms will, so please come to see them while they're still blossoming. I saw Youmu out and turned to watch the cherry blossoms, several times less impressive than the ones in her mansion while reading a book, and so it continued as night fell. Again, the following day, the cherry blossoms were even more splendid. By the way, the book I was reading yesterday obviously mentioned cherry blossoms. That was another roundabout way of viewing the flowers. As for why I would read a book about cherry blossoms while under them, It's just a way of enjoying life. People who don't know how to enjoy life are the simplistic and emotional kind. When they see cherry blossoms, they say things like, "How pretty," or "Aren't they beautiful?" Or them, "There are many ways to enjoy the cherry blossoms," like they know what they are talking about, but are actually only exposing their foolishness. Being satisfied with speaking whatever is on your mind is such a simplistic and childish attitude. You see, humans who only talk like that are not much different from Shikigami or tools. When you just let yourself sense the blossoms in front of you without comparing them to one from another place or ones you saw in the past, you will gradually arrive at a true flower viewing event. To attain a certain sophistication, one must be able to appreciate subtleties. Today I moved the heater I had left out all this time into storage. Naturally, you couldn't get a real spring feeling with it around, but I still felt a little uncertain. Maybe the mornings and evenings would still feel a little cold. Thinking of the heater reminds me of Youmu coming here yesterday. The truth is that what she said about those magnificent cherry blossoms bothered me a little. For starters, the connection between cherry blossoms and ghosts is a deep one, so when you talk about the cherry blossoms in that lady's garden full of ghosts, you can feel some cause and effect there. There are a considerable number of plants that turn into yokai in Gensokyo, especially the cherry trees that lure people to their deaths. Those have great magical power. And not only cherry trees, but all kinds of dangerous plants exist in the Forest of Magic. Trees live longer than humans, and occasionally even longer than yokai. The only ones who have seen it all of Gensokyo's history are none other than the trees in Gensokyo. This guy just talks. Knock knock. Is anyone there? Welcome. The store was open, so I imagined you would be here, but the one who came were the one from some time ago, the vampire lady, Remilia Scarlet, and her maid, Sakuya. There wasn't anybody at the shrine, so I thought Reimu might have come here. If you look closely, the mistress's dress is also cherry-colored. Vampires live long by sucking human blood. They might be fundamentally the same as cherry trees. No, I haven't seen Reimu here for a while. Today I decided on a whim to have a flower viewing party at the shrine, but then she decided on a whim not to be there. The cherry-colored vampire had some unreasonable complaints. That's right, won't you come to the flower viewing party at the shrine as well? Is that okay, even if Reimu isn't there? The cherry blossoms are blooming regardless. And also, since the shrine is wide open, there will be food and drinks available, said the maid, smiling. With a maid like this around, I can't carelessly leave the shop unattended. I am glad you invited me, but it's still operating hours for the shop, so I guess I will have to decline. If you see Reimu, tell her to go back to the shrine if you please. She said that, and then both of them left. I kept watching the cherry blossoms as I packed up the heater, and then the day ended. Again the next day, the cherry blossoms were endlessly splendid. Did they even ever manage to find Reimu yesterday, after all? But then even if Reimu wasn't home, it's easy to imagine them noisily carrying on under the cherry trees. And the image of Reimu's indignation at coming back in the evening and finding everyone helping themselves to her property was also on my mind. The cherry-colored vampire and the red-white shrine maiden. If you mixed red and white, maybe you would get that cherry-pink color. But there is a big difference. The red and the white are not there to be mixed. In other words, there should be a boundary between them. Since ancient times in Japan, red and white have been used for joyous occasions, and conversely, black and white are used for somber ones. It should be noted that for both, despite being on different ends, the color white is used. Putting it simply, you might say the red color means a good omen, while the black means a bad omen. That's how it appears, but it's actually not the case. The white is indeed indispensable. In that case, what does the white indicate, you might think? Firstly, it is not recognized as a color proper. Why? It's because it can turn into any other color, which makes it a unique type of color. If you were to give it a number, it would be 0. On the other hand, red is the color of human blood, so it also symbolizes life. It's the color of a human's first perception of life, a color of Genesis. You could think of it as existence itself. So basically, red and white symbolize the distinction between existence and nothingness. That's why the red-white boundary means joyous. By using red and white mutually, this border is emphasized, and the borderline represents the beginning of all things. That's why the ancient people thought of it as a good omen. So what about black and white? Just as white is not recognized as a color, black is not either. Black is simply darkness, and in the darkness all colors turn black. Nothing can be born from there. If white is 0, then black is a void imaginary number. Besides them being 0 and void, nothing concrete can come from the border of black and white. Basically, life can't be born from it. The difference between red, white, and black, white is analogous to the difference between this world and the next. So there's nothing mysterious about the fact that red and white symbolize life, while black and white means death. I got that. I understood. So why does the color of cherry blossoms bewilder humans and charm a great many people? Knock. The cherry blossoms are certainly white. Welcome. There's a sound of the door opening, but why wasn't anyone at the entrance? I'm looking forward to tomorrow's flower viewing party. When did you enter my store? The one who suddenly appeared in my store was Yukari Yakumo. I don't really like this girl. Not only can I not understand how she thinks, but I feel like she can see right through me. Whenever she is close by, I feel terribly uncomfortable. And besides, everyone around here seems to be having parties every day. Shouldn't you take a rest? Oh no, tomorrow will be the first flower viewing party. I see. So you haven't been to the shrine. I had this image of everyone around Reimu being loud fools, so I was a little surprised. Why no, I have been at the shrine every day. But tomorrow will be the first flower viewing party. It's tomorrow that the true cherry blossoms will bloom. I didn't really understand what she was saying, but it seemed today wasn't going to be a flower viewing day. I was thinking that if I got invited to another party today, I might as well go. But I feel I escaped from that. I guess today I'll view the flowers by myself some more while I drink tea. Today I just came to confirm the cherry blossom's whiteness. Now I'll be going to the shrine again, under the shrine's crimson cherry blossoms. Oh, that's right, it's unrelated, but did you know that the origin of red and white banners as an auspicious symbol is from true Hachiman? Most people have forgotten about it. It's such an old thing. With that, she left through the front door without waiting for an answer. I can't follow her line of conversation, so I can never fully understand it. I believe that in a conversation you are supposed to be able to expect what your partner is going to say, so that no matter how fast it goes, it can follow a logical course. Unexpected words sound the same as Buddhist prayers. I had some tea and watched the cherry blossoms. If you ask me, I'd say that these cherry blossoms are whiter than those from other places, and maybe that wasn't only due to the variety of the cherry tree. I don't know why, but up until last year, they weren't so white in the first place. But by any means, I will participate in the flower viewing party tomorrow. If I get invited, that is. The next day, they were such a full bloom that it made the previous day's blossoms seem like fakes. There were such swelling white waves that it looked as though they were going to drown the shop. It already seemed as if nothing but cherry blossoms existed outside the shop's windows. That's right, could it be that cherry blossoms originally couldn't bloom that much? Nature is always surpassing expectations. After all, weren't things like expectations unnecessary for fantasy? But anyway, if you think about it calmly, aren't they blossoming a little too much? Cherry blossoms shouldn't last this long even when there's no wind blowing. For something that is supposed to be fleeting to be lasting for so long, it actually makes me feel anxious. Are these cherry blossoms really going to fall? Knock knock, are you there? Welcome. Ah, Reimu, who should have been at her shrine watching the flowers every day, came here. Reimu seemed busy around the clock with preparations and cleanups, so I was rather expecting Marisa to show up here. Lately, it seems there's always flower viewing parties going on. Almost every day, someone comes to my house. Isn't that because the cherry blossoms at the shrine are splendid ones? I guess. Strangely, I felt a certain awkwardness from her. Obviously, even Reimu might be feeling tired from day after day of parties. Today, I'm borrowing the back of your shop. The back of the shop? And what do you mean by borrowing? To watch the flowers, of course. That's where I'll be doing my viewing today. Ah, of course. So she wasn't tired from continuously watching the flowers after all. Everyone told me about it. The cherry blossoms at the cordindo were about to fully bloom, so I came to see them, and it seems they were already perfect. So as far as these girls were concerned, the cherry blossoms up until yesterday still hadn't blossomed. Does that mean I was the only one who thought they were in full bloom and kept having lone flower viewing parties? So maybe all the recent visitors were here to check on the state of the cherry blossoms at the back of the store. I don't really like noisiness, but did you call everyone else already? No, I didn't call anyone, since I was only coming to give the cherry blossoms a look. But I think everyone will naturally gather here in a little while. And why is that? Because that's how it is. Was that natural for Reimu? As far as she was concerned, it was obvious for people to come to where she was, and since it was obvious, she didn't concern herself too much about it. If you say that, then I suppose this shop will soon get really noisy. Maybe I should close up for today. I don't think I'm going to be doing any business. Really? I thought you never did any business. That's because the people who visit the most are not customers. No, it's because there's nothing in the store that anyone wants to buy. The white cherry blossoms at the back of the shop, while white is the lack of color, and at the same time the basis for all colors. The 7 colors of the rainbow are all based on the color white. If you combine it with red, the color of Genesis, to form red and white, all kinds of different colors might be called forth. The fact that the flowers became white and blossomed full at the same time that the red and white Reimu came is not a coincidence. This is all the doing of those ghastly cherry blossoms. And then when Reimu comes, people start to gather. And so while no one notices, they are being manipulated by these blossoms. The cherry flowers bloom, thinking only of luring people to come gather under them. If you think just of all the gathering across dozens and hundreds of years, it seems they have a mysterious, magical power. Despite only being plants, the cherry blossoms at the back of the store made themselves white to better attract people's eyes. And so they called Reimu's redness, and thought of obtaining all the 7 colors of the rainbows through that red and whiteness. I am probably the only one who noticed their scheme. This way, by manipulating humans, they may be gradually turning into yokai. If they end up acquiring enough power to hurt humans, they will become more than what humans could handle. Just when had these trees at the back of my store become so devious? Oh well, whatever. Wanting to boisterously watch the cherry blossoms, wanting to die, wanting to gather. It's all quite natural. At any rate, the sakura have both red and white, means the birth of colors. And that's a good kind of birth. It's the birth of a new season, so the blooming of the cherry blossoms should really be the start of the new year. Obviously this is impossible, but at least I am in a New Year's mood. Being manipulated by the cherry blossoms magic isn't so bad. What's the matter? Why the happy face? Well, it's New Year, you know, so you've got to be happy. It's kinda late for the new year. By the way, do you know the reason why the red and white is for a joyous occasion? Of course, it's since she is a shrine maiden, isn't it? Outside the window, I could see some black mixed with the cherry blossoms white coming this way, but for some reason I couldn't see this black as a bad omen. This elegant is original spelling. Normally it is spelt as whatever that, probably Zun associated the elegance with ghost. If you don't understand what Youmu is talking about, read the previous chapter. According to the Sanji Nakashi, one of Zun's favorite writers, the fortunate pairing of red and white is from Emperor Ujin. There is a legend that when he was born from Empress Jingu, numerous clothes fell from the sky as if they celebrated the mother and baby. Since then, the colors have been used to celebrate happiness and fortune. Emperor Ojin is sometimes called True Hachiman from the event. 8 many clothes, Hachiman. There's a wordplay. Rinnosuke said red and white, kohaku, for the pair of 2 colors red and white. Literally, while Reimu meant it for the person related to the pair of the red and white in particular, i.e. Reimu herself. There are several scenes that Reimu is called red and white. So, did everybody understand that chapter? So, this is probably the first chapter where when somebody talks about cola being absolute nonsensical, like what? This is like the first chapter. The other chapters prior had a couple moments of introspection, sure, but this chapter was just Rinnosuke gets asked to come to a party by multiple different girls, says no, and then goes full introspective. And it's just like, what is this guy doing? What is he talking about? What was this guy on? We have pictures. Alright, let me get the pictures. Let me get the high quality pictures. Let me find them. I found one. They're opposite colored. So here's Here, oh my god, look how many petals are on her hat. So there's Marisa with her 10,000 petals. And here's Rinnosuke. He's look maxing. Staring at his incredibly bright window with a cup in his hand. He's mewing, boys. That's what they say, right? The colors swap. Yeah, don't ask me why. Anyway, when Rinnosuke starts talking about like cherry trees, it does kind of. I think some people either completely like tuned out, stopped paying attention, or were trying to understand and just kind of got a headache. I don't think anybody really understands what the fuck he was talking about, like, at all. Also, in this chapter, he's kind of a massive, like, kind of a pretentious asshole. He's kind of really pretentious in this chapter, huh? You simple-minded humans. You can't enjoy cherry blossoms the correct way. None like me. So great, so grand. Alright, chapter 15. So let me pull the cover up. I can find it. I can find it. There it is. Found it. Ooh, look at the dragon cloud in the background. So this chapter here. A nameless stone. Do you see that? That's really cool. You can see the cloud formation is like the form of a dragon. So, I don't remember what this chapter is, but he's probably going to talk about the dragon, which is actually kind of relevant to a lot of things in Gensokyo, but that's a really nice effect. Okay. Okay. If you wonder why Rinnosuke gets treated poorly in a lot of things, this is why. He kind of deserves it. For one, Youmu dropped something on the floor, and then Rinnosuke found it, and then he charged Youmu money to get it back. So whenever you see something like, man, all these, like, I can't believe Marisa shows up, drinks his tea, like, and never pays for anything. What a fucker. It's like, no, he kind of deserves it. He kind of deserves it. I think a little bit. He kind of earned that one. He earned his 40 lashes. What goes around comes around. Rinnosuke Morichika can see the names of things. Maybe it was for the sake of this unconventional ability that he opened Korindo, an antique store. Or maybe it is because he loves objects so much that he became able to perceive their names. And it was to him that Reimu brought a strange stone, this mysterious stone, whose name not even his ability could perceive. What is its true nature? In this chapter of the popular Touhou project serialization, the glib and image of Korindo blow through a languid midsummer afternoon. A nameless stone. In the beginning, nothing in this world had a name. It was a world in which all things were mixed together in chaos. I'm falling asleep. However, the gods in those ancient times gave a name to every last thing. And so, the orderly world we see today was born. When naming something, a new border is created that makes it recognizable as one thing. You could say that the power to name is the creation to produce the object from nothingness, clearly the same power as a god's. And because of the strength of this power, the things themselves remember their names, and that's why I can see those names in them. I left the window open, so as to let the summer breeze blow through the store. The sunlight in summer was so strong it made even walking outside a trial. It wasn't so bad inside the shop, and just to enjoy the breeze a little more, I hung a wind chime by the window. Knock, knock. You're here, right? I am, but why do you sound so happy? Not that this is unusual for you, Marisa. I don't know if it's unusual or not. she said as she took off her hat and sat atop a pot for sale. Man, she loves sitting on those pots. Even if she wants to play cool, it's way too hot today. It was full-blown summer outside, and she had that big skirt and frilly dress. I was worried that a big black hat and heavy clothing was too hot for her, but the big hat should block most of the sun's rays, so perhaps she was unexpectedly comfortable. Ah, it's so hot my brain's boiling. Oh, and I picked up this thing here. Maybe it's a stone from the outside world or something. Marisa took out a small square stone. Surprisingly, it had some metal legs growing from it. Quite a mysterious stone. This is certainly a stone from the outside world. This is what I thought. No way a weird stone like this could be from Gensokyo. So, anything interesting about it? Marisa seemed very happy. This is called a semiconductor chip. It's a man-made stone used in the outside world. Basically, something they use when controlling Shikigami. But unfortunately, it doesn't have any use by itself. Oh, is that so? What's it missing? That much I don't know. Only that it is a part of a bigger tool. Stones like this are meant to be used by putting a number of them together. By doing that, you can apparently give all kinds of commands to a Shikigami. So I guess one isn't enough, huh? Well, I'll just use it as a charm for now. With that, Marisa stuck the chip to the ribbon in her hat. Having understood the identity of the stone she had brought, Marisa looked satisfied and was now reading a book. When used by people who know how to use them, semiconductor chips are said to be capable of almost anything. So even if she doesn't know a specific way of using it, maybe something capable of doing all kinds of things would be well suited for an amulet. In terms of size, it's no bigger than a thumb, and it doesn't really get in the way, so it might be perfect for that. As far as Marisa is concerned, until she knows its name, a semiconductor is just another stone. A silly little black stone with legs sprouting from it. In Marisa's world, something that doesn't have a name cannot be distinguished from other things. But upon hearing its name from me, the stone suddenly took on individuality, and clearly became an amulet. I didn't just make up that name, however. It had already been named. The difference between Marisa and I is simply being able to see this name or not. Perceiving an object's feelings and perceiving its memories are one of the same. It's a matter of having love for them. Just by having this love, something like knowing a name becomes trivial. Knock, knock. Are you here? Yep, sure am. Ah, there you are, Marisa. Wait, not you. I was asking for Mr. Rinnosuke. If Mr. Rinnosuke was here. Ah, Reimu, I am. What is it today? I have something I want you to take a look at, she said while entering the store as if she owned it. What is it? If you want some tea, there is some over there. Oh, really? You're awfully well prepared. She came back with a rice cookie in her hand. She was far too cheeky. So, what do you want to show us? For some reason, Marisa was asking instead of me. Oh, yes, I wanted you to take a look at this stone. Another stone. So Reimu brought some stone from the outside world or something. Not that I think that finding a stone is such a great joy. If you were to take a tool out of stone, it could only be something like a paperweight or a flintstone. It's pretty big, but isn't it just a normal stone, said Marisa. Look closely. Let me see it. Oh, this is... The stone she handed me had the shape of a part of an animal's backbone, so this wasn't a stone, but a bone. That in itself wasn't strange, but its huge size was. It was a piece of backbone as big as one's hand, almost too big. This is some kind of bone, isn't it? They call it a fossil, right? I came because I thought you would know what kind of fossil it is, Mr. Rinnosuke. This stone indeed looked like a fossil. A fossilized bone, huh? But an animal big enough for that bone would have been huge, right? Like bigger than Corindo. But there were animals as big as that long ago, so what kind of animal did this bone come from? So Marisa also thinks this is a fossil from a dead animal. But originally fossils were not things buried in the ground. A fossil is what the people who dug them called them afterwards. So to think that there were animals this big long ago is a huge misunderstanding. I can't just let that pass without teaching them why fossilized bones look like they belong to animals impossibly big by today's standards. Ah, Reimu, Marisa, it seems like you both have a great misunderstanding. No matter the strength of the summer sun, it is dark inside the store. And even though the store is cramped with merchandise, the ventilation isn't bad. Gensokyo is a mountainous region, so the wind basically never stops blowing. That way, even in summer, it feels comfortable inside the shop. The summer wind rang the chime hung on the window, but it was also making some of Korindo's mysterious merchandise rattle. So the wind chime sound was drowned out. I thought that if the wind continued disturbing my wares like this, some of them might end up soon damaged. Rearrange that in your head. But since they weren't likely to be sold, and since I get a steady arrival of new goods, I didn't mind too much. Of course, the really valuable items are all kept safe elsewhere. What kind of misunderstanding? Anyone would think that this is a bone no matter how they looked at it. Oh, this is indeed a bone, but it is not a fossil, you see. But it seems to have turned to stone. A fossil is a stone of petrified bone named after the animal it originally belonged to. It only becomes a fossil after the name of its animal is known. Until then, it has no name, and is not particularly distinct from any other stone. In that case, if I ask you the name of the animal it belonged to, it will become a fossil. That would indeed be the case, but actually, that's impossible. This animal was from before the time the gods named everything. A nameless animal. This is the only kind of thing that even my ability can't identify. Well, in that case, since I discovered it, I can name it, right? At the same time that the power to name is a god's power, the gods themselves didn't have names in the beginning. Like with Takemikazuchi no Mikoto or Hachiman, the names of the gods we are familiar with nowadays only represent but one aspect of these gods. Takemikazuchi no Mikoto was originally Mikatsuchi, pot spirit, and just as the name implies, he was a god lodged in a jar. When his name changed to Takemikazuchi, he changed from a god of sorcery as implied by the pot character to a god of swordsmanship implied by the thunder character. By changing its name, a god changes its nature, which is evidence that a god's name is only one aspect of themselves. In the beginning, the gods had a much more ambiguous shape, so they were nameless entities with no particular distinctions. Conversely, the gods who still retain their original form can only possess things from before everything was named, because if a god were lodged in something like a name, then it could only display one of its aspects. Are you saying that you want to make this a fossil instead of a bone? That's not what I meant. It's just that not knowing its name gives me a bad feeling, you see. And I'm curious as to what kind of creature and animal this big could be. You say that the owner of this bone was big. That's your biggest misunderstanding. But try to imagine an animal large enough for this bone. Its height would surpass the shop by far, and its length would be as big as the shrine grounds. There's no way an animal this big could have lived. First, think of how much food it would have to gather, and it wouldn't be able to move its body quickly. And how would you be able to take care of its offspring and bring them enough food? There couldn't possibly have been an animal that needed a body this big. Huh? But this is a bone, isn't it? And when I found the fossil, or fossil-like stone, it was full of them. What are all those then? Strangely, Marisa didn't seem interested and was reading a book. I guess she doesn't care about things like ancient animals, except that this isn't a story about an ancient animal. It's a progressive topic. The animal this bone belonged to was originally normal-sized, and this bone used to be the same size as we are familiar with. But after it died and its flesh went back to Earth, its bones continued to grow. The proof of that is that only recently have these huge fossils been discovered and everyone making a fuss over them. Some time ago, they were still too small, and nobody could have found or made a fuss over them. Are you telling me that after it died, the bone continued growing by itself? There's no way that could happen. Of course, normally something like that wouldn't happen, but then why did this bone get so big? Ah, yes, the reason is that this isn't actually a fossil, because it's actually from an animal from before everything was named, you see. I picked up my cup of tea. The tea had already cooled, but I let that happen on purpose. Of course, only people like Reimu can drink hot tea with a straight face during summer. Not having a name means that this animal wasn't distincted from others. It just blended in with the world. You couldn't say it was stone, bone, soil, or animal. It just was. It was something close to a god's original form. Therefore, it was the only kind of thing a god could take residence in, and so that in the distant future, it could gain corpus and reign above the ground. These god-bearing bones are enlarging to a size fit for itself. Wait a moment. You're going too fast. I can't keep up. Really? But it's simple. The bone you have is part of an individual that will turn into the incarnation of a god. I somehow doubt that. The fact that it continues to grow is one evidence, but there's an even more definitive proof. The fact that even with my ability I can't see its name, which is to say that it doesn't have a name. Well, I don't think I could make the same conclusion. So then what kind of god this bone will become? Can't you imagine it right away? An incarnation of a god with such a huge backbone. Even against Gensokyo you rarely see one, but I'm sure you know about them. Ah, of course, so that was it. Now I get it. The sun was beginning to set. The sky was slightly tinged in red. The midday heat had all but subsided, and only the sound of the wind chime was left as the remainder of the day's heat. The two of them seemed satisfied and went back. Of course, not even I can see the names of things that come from before the age when the gods named everything, but when humans find a bone from that age, they just name them as they please, and when they do that, a nameless piece of a god becomes established as just another stone. This is what they call a fossil. When a piece of a god turns into a fossil, it then stops growing, and when a human sees this bone stop halfway in its huge transformation and says something like, "Long ago there were animals this big," it's slightly pathetic how lacking their imaginations are. Knock, knock. Ah, there was one more thing I forgot to ask. Reimu came back, just as I was removing the wind chime and closing the window. What is it? Still something about the bone? From your story, I understood that this bone was a part of a dragon, but in the place where I found it, I also found a lot of old shellfish fossils. And those are sea creatures, right? Do you know why they were there? Could it be that Gensokyo was underwater long ago, even though it's so deep in the mountains? Humans with such scarce imagination are seen pitiful by other people. To think that because there are sea creatures buried in the soil, this place was underwater long ago is simply too pitiful. Really? So there were shells buried along with the dragon bone. And why does that make you think that Gensokyo was underwater long ago? What? Well, isn't it true? If a place that was the sea becomes dry land, the shellfish would get left behind. Not at all. If the sea slowly becomes land, all of the sea creatures would have fled deeper into the sea. On the other hand, if there was an incident severe enough to turn sea into land instantly, the shells most likely wouldn't have remained in their original shape. In any case, there's no way they would remain in one place and turn to stone. If you say so. So what are these shells then? Dragons, you see, have to be born in the sea, and for them to be reborn, where their bones lie must be like the sea, so the shellfish are there for this image. I've never heard about dragons not being able to revive away from the sea. I had really hoped that Reimu, who is a shrine maiden, would have more knowledge about gods than me, but then again, she's just a child, so I guess I'll have to teach her some more. Dragons are reborn in a thunderstorm at sea, rise to the skies, and soar through the heavens. Proof of that is given by the fact that the sea, the rain, and the heaven were all named by the dragons. You seem to know a lot, though I can't be sure if this is all true. The reason is that sea, rain, and heaven are all essentially the same word, because the characters for the three of them can be read as Amma. The word for fisherman is often read as Amma, which proves it actually means Amabito, people of the sea. Rain umbrella is read as Amagasa, and the river of heaven, the Milky Way, as Amanogawa. Dragons call up thunderstorms while soaring through the heavens, and the dragon palace is said to be in the middle of the sea, so even you can see that they have a profound connection with water. Can't you, Reimu? I saw that Reimu was still a little doubtful, but I wanted to improve her imaginative capacities, so I continued. One more thing, as proof that dragons run through the three Amma, there are the rainbows that cross the sky. Why those appear after a storm is because they are the traces of a dragon's appearance. Ah, now I see. I think I understand what you mean. That's right. For a dragon to be born, the three Ama must be present. The rain and the heaven are here, but Gensokyo doesn't have a sea. That's why the dragon creates an illusionary sea. And as an image of this illusionary sea, there are the clam-shaped stones that sleep alongside them. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Reimu seemed convinced and went back to the shrine just before it became dark. I did not make up a single word of what I told Reimu and Marisa today about the dragon stone. Only I know about that, but the truth is that fossils are also called dragons in the outside world. Dire dragon, winged dragon, sea dragon, they have many names for them. I believe what I know is considered common knowledge outside of Gensokyo. By the way, in Gensokyo, when a fossil of an animal is transforming into a dragon, the god, these bones are not fossils, but living bones. The reason why that happens is because ancient animals in Gensokyo are not named. And in not being named, it means that their bones refuse to turn into fossils and keep growing. I could not give a name to something from before the age where everything was named. As for the things that even my ability can't see the names of, I don't delve too deep into the memory about them. This would be the same as borrowing the powers of the gods without permission, and I can't see that as anything but haughtiness. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be haughty, Rinnosuke. Not you. Not you, King Humble. Alright. Here are the images. Well, here's one of them. So here's him explaining to Reimu what the three Amas are. And Reimu's like, wow, that's very impressive, Glurp Chip. And where's the other one? Hold on. I'm looking. Maybe it's blue? There it is. You grabbed the wrong thing. Thank you. Okay. So Marisa's just kind of... Marisa doesn't give a shit. But she's holding a cool rock that looks like it has bunny ears. So... Did you enjoy that chapter? Did that chapter do anything for you? Maybe. How many are left? One sec. Alright, chapter 27. Yeah. Because chapter 28 is when Strange Creators put them back up. 27. So, next chapter 16. We got time for one more chapter, chat. Chapter made my opinion of Rinnosuke worse. Actually made me angry. Don't get rage baited by Rinnosuke. Don't do it. Yo, look at that cola bottle he's got. Get it? Wait, is that actually a cola bottle? Wait, chills? Everybody's got a cola bottle. And it's cola, dude. It's cola. Non-functional Shikigami. Alright, dude. This is the last chapter. Korendo, the shop that deals in items from the outside world, and it was there that the type of Shikigami called a computer happened to appear. But in order for the inhabitants of Gensokyo to be able to use these Shikigami, an indispensable something was lacking. In this chapter of the popular Touhou project serialization, an unusually troubled Rinnosuke tries to speak. But what is he keeping to himself? Non-functional Shikigami. Not that I was expecting any kind of response from it, but I was dusting the keyboard I had for sale. The keyboard was part of an item called a computer, and the most I could say about it was that it was a tool with almost too many buttons. I always like to keep my merchandise clean, but these Keyboards were particularly difficult to maintain, and they were soon becoming covered in dust. They definitely weren't made in the shape that is convenient for people. Amongst my merchandise, the rate of arrival of computers, which is to say the numbers of them that were covered in Gensokyo, was quite high, and as there were few who wanted one, they are quite problematic. On top of that, they are big, so they take up a great deal of space. As of late, I'm not even picking up the ones I find unless their shape attracts my eye. Computers are tools that behave according to orders from their masters. You could say that they are the outside world Shikigami, but their strange and complicated construction, as well as their uninteresting appearance, speaks volumes about the culture of the outside world. In Gensokyo, a Shikigami's appearance is an important matter. They could be a fox, or a cat, or maybe other kinds of interesting forms, which is only to be expected, since the Shikigami already had their original forms before becoming Shikigami, and became one after being given the necessary abilities. Of course, the tool's facet of a Shikigami is its most important part. But for a Shikigami to look like a mere tool would simply be missing the point. I guess that in the outside world, they only care about the contents and not the appearance. But isn't that a little too impersonal? Knock, knock. Hey, it's getting pretty chilly, huh? Looks like the season of short sleeves is almost over. Are you still wearing short sleeves? How long did you think summer was going to last? Soon it'll get cold enough for me to not have to bring out the heater. Nah, even though I'm weak to cold, I don't think you need that yet. But hey, isn't it strange to put coffee in a bottle with a small amount like that? The drink Marisa had just identified as coffee, while having a somewhat similar name, wasn't actually coffee, but a drink called cola. A drink from the outside world. At least for drinks, you don't have to know how to use it, just what its use is, in order to drink it. What? Cola, you say? But hey, you shouldn't just drink things you find lying around, yeah? Don't worry, this is for sale, because here at Court Indo, we sell the items we pick up. While she didn't entirely understand my logic herself, Marisa seemed to agree as she sat atop a desk. The days were starting to get shorter. The sky was already turning red, the kind of color that prompts one to head back home. It's often said that in autumn the days fall as fast as a bucket, but since that means the speed in which the bucket falls, it doesn't quite match the idea of the sun setting earlier. Maybe this explanation is wrong, and there is a more profound meaning to it. I'll think about it next time I have time. Oh yeah, can you give me one of those computers over there? Oh really, you're saying you want to buy one? I'll give you a bargain. Nope, don't want your money. Don't want any money. Don't got any money. I just thought having a Shikigami would be fun. No money, you say. Well, I guess I can just put it on your tab. If people who come to look at my stuff they don't intend to buy are called window shoppers, then what do you call people who come to get things they don't intend to pay for? Maybe Marisa shoppers would be suitable. Yeah, sure, that works. Alright, I don't even know what the other choice I would have anyway, but make sure you pay it off later. Now then, I have many different kinds of computers. Big ones, small ones. What kind do you want? Give me a big one. Bigger, stronger, right? Marisa had already hefted a big computer in her arms and walked out into the evening with it. It was an unsuitably large item for such a small girl, but when watching her emboldened figure carrying it, it felt extremely Marisa-like. It was kind of mysterious. Tools were usually simpler the bigger they were, and Marisa's big computer looked quite simple at a first glance. However, its insides were surprisingly bizarre and complex, more than anything in Gensokyo. Shikigami, as complex as computers, could only be created by the skill of the outside world, and not only computers, but from tableware to the sheets of paper used for newspaper. Most of my items are the result of the technology in the outside world, and the humans that the yokai usually prey upon are humans from the outside world. As a closed space, Gensokyo seems to have warded itself against the benefits from the outside. They say that if you can't beat them, join them, but you shouldn't join something stronger just because it's easier or safer. It's a moral to train those that have become weakened by cowardice, scurrying into tiny spaces like mice. When you put yourself with something bigger than you are, your outlook widens and you have many more opportunities for learning. By shutting itself into a closed space, Gensokyo gradually forgets about the benefits it gets from the outside world. And this is not limited to Gensokyo. The smaller the place you put yourself in, the more you don't notice the benefits from the bigger things. In this kind of situation, thinking that Gensokyo is somehow better than the outside world is but arrogance. When living in a small place, people get arrogant and lose the drive to improve themselves. By looking at Gensokyo today, one can understand how both humans and yokai are just carrying on with their degenerate lifestyles. Me, I think that for the sake of my search of knowledge, I would like to go to the outside world someday. In other words, I want to join those, and I can't beat. I dream of improving myself and putting my knowledge to good use there. The computers I've been collecting lately, amongst the various functions, seem to specialize in transmission of information, or so my ability tells. You wouldn't think that the square box is a Shikigami capable of moving on its own, but once it moves, it is said to be able to gather information at an incredible speed. However, this is something I find difficult to imagine. If one were to make a Shikigami that collects information, it should be in the shape of a Tengu, even if it were just a fake. That way it would not only be a fascinating computer, but one would certainly possess the ability to gather information. That was the universal way of thinking in Gensokyo. Before going to sleep, I took a look at the empty cola bottle. This cola leaves a bit of an acrid taste in your mouth, but its bottle shape is certainly pleasant to look at. Maybe it's a drink very suited to Gensokyo. If the outside world Shikigami had interesting appearances like this, they would sell a lot more at my shop. And so I spent the evening thinking of these things. Knock knock. Mr. Rinnosuke, are you there? Yes, I am. I just heard from Marisa, so you've been reduced to surviving by eating what you pick up now? Even without computers, news travels surprisingly fast in Gensokyo. It was just yesterday, but it had already reached Reimu. However, this information had already changed into something different. I wonder if information gathered by computers also gets changed like this. Eating what I pick up. All I did was drink some cola. Cola? I don't really know what that is, but it's something you picked up, right? You shouldn't just drink things you're not familiar with. Reimu was holding the empty cola bottle with a suspicious look on her face. On the inside, it was just a dark liquid, but on the outside, its bottle was made in such an interesting shape that you couldn't ignore it. I could sense a great wisdom in this. I wonder if the people who created computers and the people who created cola were the same. So yesterday, Marisa was really happy about getting a computer. She got it from the store, right? If she just took one, you should have at least told me too. Actually, I sold her that. She didn't just take it away, but I don't think anything will happen just because she has one. I just recently realized, but these Shikigami are a little different from the kind of Shikigami we know. Can't you tell just by looking? Well, I suppose you certainly can, but rather than just that, they are different in concept. What we usually call a Shikigami is a spirit made into a tool by creating a pattern. In other words, they are created by turning fantasy into reality. That's why you see so many with one-pattern minds. However, I can't really see these computers as having a spirit of their own. They were tools from the beginning. I imagine them more as a tool made into a spirit by creating a pattern. In other words, they are created by turning reality into fantasy. I don't get it. Like dolls that move on their own, you mean? In the outside world, things of fantasy don't exist. Or rather, things that don't exist are called fantasy. That's why humans invented tools that can create fantasies. And what do you think Marisa is going to do now that she has one of those Shikigami? She will likely just neglect it, like her metal scraps. Knock knock. I heard that. I didn't scrap it just yet. Ah, so you were here, Marisa. I wasn't getting anywhere with the computer, so I took a break and came on over. Don't you have any more of that cola? Cola tastes like medicine that's really not that good. I thought it'd at least be as useful as a doll or something. Marisa was standing in front of the door, looking just like she had let her prankster fairy escape. She had a clearly disappointed look on her face. A doll? And since when are dolls useful tools? Hey, there are people that use dolls to help around the house, right? Isn't that kind of like using a Shikigami? What are you saying? You can't possibly make a doll realize what they're doing. Seems like Marisa once again has a misconception. She made a dubious face as she sat on some of the merchandise. Reimu was very Reimu-like, fiddling with one of the small computers without asking. She seemed a little afraid that it would start moving when she touched it. So you say that moving dolls are similar to Shikigami, right? That might be possible, but the dolls in Gensokyo right now are not Shikigami worthy. I don't even know what Shikigami are supposed to be in the first place. Ain't they like familiars or something? Familiars and dolls have their similarities, and familiars and Shikigami also have their similarities. But dolls and Shikigami are very different. Okay, so what? I've seen them move and work just like they've been told, you know. But dolls, you see, are only being manipulated. Marisa's face was tinted red. The evening sun was already setting. From now on, the days would get shorter and the power of the yokai would only continue to become stronger. Yesterday, I spent some time thinking about the autumn days falling like a bucket. What if the falling like a bucket is not referring to a bucket down a well, but rather to the yokai's name, the Surabaya Otoshi, who attacks people from the top of the tree during dark nights? In other words, maybe it means that as autumn advances, the Surabaya Otoshi becomes more active. In this case, there's no problem regarding speed or time. So if dolls are being manipulated, what's so different about Shikigami? It looks like they're always being manipulated too. To make a doll move its hands, you have to pull a string attached to them. To make it look like it's walking, you have to pull the strings on its arms and legs. To make it appear alive, you pull all of them. But did those dolls have strings? They don't have to be physical strings. It could be magic or something else, but it's certainly some kind of manipulating power. For a doll to move on its right hand, someone must manipulate it into moving it. For a doll to help with housework, you have to manipulate it into doing housework. Sounds pretty handy. That should make doing chores by yourself a snap, right? I suppose it would. If you can manipulate many at the same time, then not only would it become easier, but it would also let you do things you couldn't normally do by yourself. I get it. So that means if a doll is talking, then it's just being manipulated to look like it's talking. Just a lame one-person act. And as for the Shikigami, they are like servants who move according to orders. Hey, isn't that the same as the dolls? Reimu was in front of a computer, no longer trying to make it move and now drinking tea. She no longer seemed interested in it. They're completely different. Shikigami move according to orders and they can have other abilities. If we were to compare it to the doll's example from earlier, you could say that if you want the Shikigami to move their hand, you don't have to pull it. Just saying raise your hand would be enough. Because Shikigami are alive after all. Just because they are alive doesn't mean they have to follow orders. If I told you to raise your hand, would you do it? Yeah, look, sure. You really are a hopeless case. So then what? What do I have to do if I want to use the computer? While we were talking, it had become just a little bit darker. Soon enough, it would be time for the Surabaya Otoshi to go on a rampage. But in those girls' case, it's more than likely they would gladly go searching for the Surabaya Otoshi, even if they had no business doing so. Well, in that case, you'd have to at least possess enough power to make the computer listen to what you say. In other words, if you can't beat them, join them. Will there come a time when the computers can be used in Gensokyo? As far as I can see, it's not likely the ones in Gensokyo could become used in daily life without the benefits from the outside world. In that case, the only way to employ computers would be to go to the outside world. Transmission of information in Gensokyo is fast. That's because there are a lot of curious people. If the people here are able to gather information themselves instead of using these outside world Shikigami, then computers might not be needed in Gensokyo at all. While looking at the non-functional computers, I thought that for the sake of learning, I too would have to someday join them being the outside world. Gensokyo takes the benefits of the outside world for granted, and that's why everyone leads a freewheeling life here. I understand this only too well since I deal in items from the outside world. Even though we shut ourselves inside Gensokyo, we take from the outside world only the things we deem convenient and pretend to be independent. But the truth is that if the outside world were to crumble, Gensokyo would soon follow. And on top of that, while being in Gensokyo, you can't affect the outside world in any way. People living in Gensokyo are leading a life in a small place from which they can't get out, and I understand that is to be simply the easiest choice. Marisa was probably thinking of having the computer do her housework for her, but a tool from the outside world wouldn't show its true nature to the indolent mindset typical of a small place. If I were to use a Shikigami, I wouldn't think of any other than a computer. But until the time I can give orders to computers that attain greater strength than what I have now, I'll just continue studying about the outside world. What happened? It's already dark, so I guess we better get going, right? Too bad I couldn't figure out how to get my computer to work. Oh yes, and remember not to put things you find lying around in your mouth. Yes, it is quite late. Oh yes, wait a moment, you two. Before you go back, I have a gift for you. Think of it as a sample. I said that with my gift already in mind. Yes, something I could give to these people of Gensokyo who are lacking whatever makes these Shikigami move, me included. Something that would convince them to proactively join something bigger. I gave a cola to both Marisa and Reimu. The original was a Japanese proverb that literally means be coiled around by a big thing. This means the meaning is basically the same as the Western proverb, that is that one should rather join the stronger side and take advantage of its strength instead of fighting it. Surabaya Otoshi, meaning something like falling like a bucket, is a Japanese expression referring to something that falls suddenly and fast. It's also the name given to the type of yokai that lurks in the treetops to either fall upon unsuspecting passersby or drop fire or buckets on him. They are represented in Touhou cast by Kisume. So I actually, there's a lot of yapping here, and this whole chapter is about the comparison of Shikigamis to computers. But this blurb at the end here is actually kind of really legit and like a little existential. Where Rinnosuke mentions a couple times in this chapter that he does at some point want to enter the outside world, but he also says here like people who live that like Gensokyo is a small place, is a small place, and the outside world is around it, and the people that live in Gensokyo kind of take for granted that smallness. They don't try to like really understand the greater picture around them because they don't need to. But as Rinnosuke says, like, Gensokyo, nothing that happens in Gensokyo will affect what happens outside. But if anything happened outside, then Gensokyo could be completely totaled, right? So the outside world has a lot of sway of what happens over Gensokyo, but Gensokyo has absolutely no real power over what happens outside it. So the line there is like, people living in Gensokyo are leading a life in a small place from which they can't get out, and I understand that to be simply the easiest choice. So they simply accepted their lifestyle. Because people are familiar with the outside world, and they kind of accept that they can't really leave it. They can't really leave Gensokyo, they just accept that their life, they will live and they will die within it. Now the yokai are different because the yokai kind of have to exist in Gensokyo. That's why Gensokyo exists in the first place, because they were running out of life. But humans that live in Gensokyo, which are necessary for yokai to continue existing, there's nothing really stopping them from just, living. There's nothing stopping them from being able to live in the outside world, and Rinnosuke is a half human, half yokai, to the degree that he doesn't seem to need any, like, he has the diet of a yokai. He has the lifespan of a yokai. Like, he doesn't eat very much, but it seems like he does not have to worry about just fading out of existence, because his human side does, well, make him human. Duh. So yeah, I think that's kind of neat. And this is a chapter that's written before. This is a chapter that was written before Zun decided to go on his whole, the outside world bad, AI will kill us kind of thing, right? But I like this kind of introspection from Rinnosuke, a look at the outside world. I'm pretty sure this is also before Mountain of Faith, because Mountain of Faith is when the outside world really kind of started coming into Touhou, like, legitimately, because that's where the Moria Shrine comes from. That shit came from the outside world. And innovation from the outside world continued to happen at that point. Prior to Touhou 10, a lot of the outside world was just kind of like this. Rinnosuke finds random object. But the series became more intertangled with the goings-on of the outside world. And in my opinion, the longer that's gone on, the worse it has kind of become. But that's just my opinion. So here's the pictures. Here's the computer. Crazy, crazy, crazy shot. One sec. Where's the other one? There it is. Small, large. Small, large. That's a big ass computer. There you go. Sanai would have, if Sanai is a half god, if she had lost face, she would have went back to being a human. But Sho is interesting because Sho is still considered a yokai, but tiger yokai basically went extinct because tigers became known about. But because she survived by being the avatar of Bishamon, she also hid the fact that she was a yokai for a long time. Only Byakuren and company knew. So Sho's Sho's basically not a yokai in any real capacity anymore. And you would assume she would have ears and tail, but she doesn't. She doesn't have those. So it's more like her yokai side is completely decayed, and now she's purely like a god. But that's not really the case. But we do know with the total of 15 endings as well, the ultramarine elixir. The ultramarine elixir, according to Sanai's legacy ending, if Sanai drinks the ultramarine elixir, it would actually turn her into a regular human. The elixir's purity was so strong that it would wipe her godliness out. And in that same ending, Suiko mentions that if Kaneko or Suiko drink that elixir, it would just straight up kill them. So the canon endings for 15 are the legacy endings where nobody touches that medicine because that medicine is very dangerous. And it's very interesting the fact that Sanai drinking that medicine would actually just turn her into a regular human because the effects of that medicine are so strong that it could just straight up kill people. Well, it seems that it was super effective, that's what they said, against native, like, old yokai, or old gods. So Kaneko and Suiko are very old, right? So that elixir was very, very potent, and it was very dangerous medicine. Very dangerous medicine, but not for humans. Humans were fine. Humans were fine, but nobody wanted to drink it because it was suspicious. And yeah, that's why the canon resolution to those games is that they don't drink it. Cool ending. Well, there you go, chat. That's chapter 16. Alright. Oh man. Not this one. I think this is one of the chapters that put me to sleep. The chapter about paper. Okay. Just gonna make a bookmark. Alright, chat. We're gonna stop here. The next chapter is he's gonna start talking about paper. That's really exciting. Some of these later chapters they did kind of make it hard to finish. Holy shit. Okay. Thank you for watching, or I guess I should say thank you for listening. I still have a headache. I'm kind of annoyed. Tomorrow... Well, don't worry about tomorrow. Next week, we'll do more. I think we got 2 more streams of this. We'll probably get to, like, chapter 23 or something. We'll do 17, 18, 19, 20, 21... 22, and then we have 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So yeah, I think we can do this in 2 more streams. I'm not going to try and force this into 1 stream because we'll be here for 4 hours and I will die. So if there's extra time, maybe we'll do something else. But yeah, 2 more streams of this. 8-hour read along. Shit's long, huh? See you next time.